Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nericus Ryan. Today I'm joined by
Nerd Dave,
Nathan Nerdark,
Nerdarcus Ted.
And today we're talking about enemies in a full shell, Flail Snail power.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter. It's a great way to learn how to game with Nerdarchy as well as get weekly tips.
what page can we find the Flail Snail on?
The Flail Snail in your trusty Volo's Guide to Monster is on page 144.
And if you haven't picked up yours yet, why haven't you? What are you waiting for? What
You
are
gods,
you doing?
man! Yeah.
Down in the description below, you can find a link to Amazon so you can get it through our link, and we would appreciate you helping us.
And I've also taken to pinning it in the comment section, so there's a pinned comment of where to get it to.
Flail Snail. Now, this is another monster from original Dungeons & Dragons, AD&D,
The Wayback Machine.
the Wayback Machine, and it was probably in the Fiendum Folio. A lot of the monsters that they're putting into Volo's Guide came from either the Fiendum Folio or Monster Manual 2. You know, like most things that are terrible, I think this came from the Fiendum Folio. It was always a cool monster. Now, one of the things that they're doing with the Volo's Guide to Monsters, they're taking these old nostalgia monsters that we had way back when, and they're actually improving the story and making the RP elements to them way better than they actually originally were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember ever going up against a Flail Snail. I don't know if you used it back in the day against us or not. I don't have any memories of it.
It's because I used them and then mind wiped the party.
Yeah,
The players, not the characters.
Yeah, exactly. So they made an appearance in the Spelljammer game, unknowns to us, and we were looking at the gold value of what the shells are worth. We left a lot of fucking money on the table, guys.
About 30 grand.
We're the worst murder hobos ever, is really what it
Yeah,
comes
so
down to.
basically I had a Kraken that collected Flail Snails and shoved them into basically boulders and had them like in a magical stasis, and then would hurl them catapult style at the ship. They would break open, they would try and blind everybody on the ship, and then start to murder people.
Then start flailing and snailing as the Flail Snail does.
The Flail Snail is designed, it's got a trail of treasure as its RP thing. So there are people who have a career of just following the snails around because their goo that they leave behind hardens into a usable glass.
You know, for our world, we have the Chaos Storm Hunters, but maybe when there's an off season or whatever, they're also basically they look for eldritch paraphernalia. Maybe we make a background for that because that sounds really cool. So it's maybe they're not just chasers of the storm, but they also might chase some Flail Snails.
Chaos Stormers, right? They have rodeos.
Yeah.
And the Flail Snail, they had Flail Snail instead of steer.
Yeah,
I don't see the Flail Snail flailing around.
Well,
Try and knock
no.
them off.
You get on its shell and it tries to kill you, and you try to not die.
Yeah, there you go. But so, but the other thought being that maybe with the Chaos Storms in our world, maybe the residue that they leave isn't just glass, but other things, like other substances that have eldritch uses as well. So,
Well, I could also see that glass being ideal for making magic items that are made with glass. So, like lenses come to mind, crystal balls come to mind,
telescope, if there's a thing that's like a telescope type of thing,
like spyglass.
Spyglass,
Yeah,
that's
magic
it.
spyglass that will work. There's probably definitely some things that you could definitely use it for, and it is kind of cool that the idea that they follow that other races, probably especially subterranean races, will follow these guys around because they pretty much just eat everything in their wake, and they leave behind this inedible substance that they can't eat. So what are they going to do with it? But in addition to that, like you guys mentioned, the shell itself is worth a fortune.
5,000 gold pieces, ladies and gentlemen. 5,000.
I don't know if it was originally from the elemental plane of Earth before, or was just kind of magical creation. But now they've reflavored it. They're from the elemental plane of Earth. Kind of makes sense with the fact that they kind of live to devour earthly things and substances, precious and semi-precious stones and gems and that kind of stuff. So kind of cool. These things would be a terrible nuisance for miners, I would think,
Yeah, when you're under 18, a Flail Snail is not the thing you want to encounter.
probably. Listen,
Where's
officer,
Dave?
I
Yeah,
could have
where's Dave?
sworn this Flail Snail was of age.
Yeah, so with the Flail Snail, for miners, they're going to eat your crystals. They're going to basically munch up all the stuff that you would like to take
To
out.
harvest.
And
Yeah, you want to kill these things dead. You want to hire adventurers to kill these things dead. Or you could be the 4 miners that rose up. That's an opening to an adventure. Hunting the Flail Snail, you have to level up a little bit because a low-level party is going to get absolutely murdered for this.
Or maybe, your miners happen to be gnomes and they're a bit of pranksters. And as a lark, they like to hire wizards. to deal with their flail snail problem.
Yeah, that would be hysterical.
So looking at this, the fact that it's a challenge 3, its things that it can do right off the bat are crazy. So I want to see a party of spellcasters, 3rd or 4th level, try to take this on.
And you get murdered by it.
Well, here's the thing. It's not very fast, so you can probably play keep away. The only problem is the only thing a spellcaster can really do is cast spells at it, and you might start eating your own spells at that point.
Which is why I think it would be amusing.
Now, I think, if you have a party of warriors, low level, it's still going to be really challenging. They have a good armor class. They get a bunch of attacks. It's thematic in the sense that when you can actually kill the tentacles and take away some of the attacks. But in the meantime, it's a substantial threat.
Yeah, I mean 1 and 2 of just having your spells like volleyball or like tennis racketed back at you is pretty awesome on the anti-magic shell.
Yep.
That's fantastic. And then 5 and 6 is it just converts the spell level into force damage, and it's a DC 15 con save. How many sorcerer or spellcasters are that good at making saves? The sorcerer comes to mind. That's about it, right?
Yeah.
So everyone else is going to have a bad time of it.
What's the radius on that? It basically explodes force damage.
Yeah, it's a 30-foot of the creature.
Yeah, it becomes a force fireball.
Yeah, centered on it, but it's probably not taking
And it's a
the damage
D6
itself.
force damage per level of the spell.
Yeah, it does not take the damage itself. It just distributes it. And basically, anytime you cast a spell at the flail snail and it makes its saving throw, which it has advantage on, or you make a spell attack at it, which I believe you have disadvantage to hit with.
Yes.
If it misses, then you roll to find out, well, why did it miss? Was it why did it miss, or why did it make its saving throw? And then you determine, you roll another die 6 to find out what happened. Ryan mentioned 1, 2, and 5 and 6. I think 3 or 4, nothing happens.
Yeah,
It's
no
just
additional
normal.
effect. Yeah.
But you have a 66% chance that it's going to damage the people casting the spells
And not damage the snail.
and not damage the snail.
Yeah. Well, so the way to deal with this creature is just whack it with attacks. Like
Beat it with
just,
a stick.
just attack it. Like even missile attacks would be okay.
But, missile attacks. Because if you are a spellcaster and you decide to charge in it, you're probably going to have a low armor class, and it's going to beat the snot out of you.
Yeah, exactly. But missile, say an archer of some variety is pretty safe, and that's the way they deal with this. But your warriors that are fighting in melee with this thing, Orcus forbid if your caster decides, let me see how this massive effect works, and it's say the one that turns it into a force field, force damage in the 30-foot radius, while 3 of your party members are fighting it toe to toe.
On the plus side, though, it can't do any more than 96. That's it.
Yeah,
It maxes out.
And then it's got the tentacles that are up, or the flails.
Actually, the real problem is when those high-level spells get reflected back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you're not generally always immune to the thing that you're casting as a spellcaster.
But if you're an 17th level character, this is not going to be a problem for you.
No, I guess.
As long as you don't just slam it with a spell.
That being said, in our Spelljammer game, you guys were 17th level characters.
And there was multiples, and they were problematic.
Yeah, they definitely. I used them as a nuisance, right? One was as catapult bullets; they hurt a lot, and the other thing was once they cracked open and landed, I used their special ability, which has a recharge. Is basically flash light and can blind you.
Yeah, well, they recharges after a short or a long rest. So
I'm sorry. I thought it was a thyro recharge, but no.
Yeah, no.
But so once per combat,
if you were doing it, you were cheating, basically. Well, no, like
Well,
really.
he had enough of them. It sounds.
Yeah,
like.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. The really nasty usage of this is if you have multiple flail snails involved in the encounter, and if you can staccato their attacks so they're not activating the ability all at once, they kind of do it in a sequence or whatever. Then
It's a light show.
Yeah. Then you have, if you have 3 of them, 2 of them are beating the snot of a good amount of the party, and then this ability is like an effect for essentially 6 rounds of the combat. So that's going to make even like a 8th level party is going to have a bad time with that.
Well, the other thing though is if they do it all at once, it's a lot of saving throws that you have to pass.
Yeah.
So chances are, you're going to fail the saving throw. The other thing is because if they're using that as their action, more than likely they're going to pull into their shell, which adds 4 to the armor class. So they're already impressive armor class of 16.
Right.
Goes to a 20. Is that full plate and a shield, or is that better? That's full plate and a
full plate and a
shield.
shield.
Full play and a shield.
Yeah, so essentially, if they go into their shell, they're full plate and a shield. Since they can't attack on the same round as they do that anyway, it would only make sense that whenever they're going to use their, what is it called? What's the ability?
Scintillating shell.
Their scintillating shell ability, they're going to pull into their shell, they're going to flash the light, try and blind everybody, and then...
As a bonus action, they can pop out. So.
Enemies in a full shell, flail snail power. Yeah, so that's going to be nasty. They get the 5 attacks. I really like the way they flavor that if their individual flail tentacles if they
like
take
10
more than
damage,
10 points of damage from an attack, then that attack becomes inactive. So they have a ton of attacks out the gate, but the idea is you're going to quickly wear them
You're gonna
down
bleed them down.
if you deal respectable damage, and your average warrior is probably going to do more than 10
So,
damage.
so if you do 9 or less the entire time, it's
you're
going to
going to
hurt
get
more.
whacked.
Yeah.
They're going to set their flails to womp. That's what's going to happen.
Well, and that was one of the other uses I used for them. While they weren't very threatening to the party, they were a freaking nightmare for the crew of the Star Sprite. You guys really, if you wanted to have any crew left, had to deal with them.
Right.
One way or another. These guys would be fun to use. Like, I could definitely see one of the races trying to, like, capture them and use them.
Domesticate them.
Yeah. Because let's face it, like, once you figure out how they work, don't use magic on them. And you need a pointy stick that's 15 foot long.
Yeah, long pointy sticks.
Yeah.
So I have a couple ideas of things that I think we might be able to do with them, either with an interesting NPC or whatnot. I don't know.
Are you thinking racing flail snails?
No.
Oh.
I was thinking, like, what happens if you had an NPC that really thought that the glass element could be something special? So what if it fed it magic items so that essentially its releasings would be magical in some way, shape,
And then
or
we'll
form?
grind it up and try and sell it as some kind of cure-all.
So you want to
snakes.
introduce magic poop into the game?
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's secretion.
Excrement.
It's excrement. It's a little different. But, I mean, so the idea too is you could like dangling the carrot in front of the mule or whatever. You could do that with like gems or whatever, kind of enough in front of it, and you could use this thing kind of as a siege monster. Like, just send it into people's ranks, and then it's going to attack. It's going to be impervious to all the all the magical attacks that they might use, and you kind of send these things as a ponderous front line to go just sow chaos into people's line, and then attack with missile weapons over it.
Well, yeah, each strike could kill a peasant, basically. So if the army is not well trained on the other side,
How
it's
big
gonna
are they?
be-
They're just large, right?
Yep, large. Yep.
It might be fun to take like kobolds or goblins. I think kobolds work better just because
Because
of
natural miners.
because they're natural miners and they're also more inclined to use magic.
They're inventive.
and they revere magic, where some of the other more savage races kind of are superstitious of it. Putting what are they? Hodas?
Hodals, yeah.
Hodals
Yeah.
on the back of the flask now for a small monster.
Yeah.
And they could ride them. Basically, like you said, they'd be little, like, basically bulwarks. I don't go very fast, but
Yeah, well, but the idea of siege weaponry, it doesn't move very fast either. So,
Yeah.
So one thing we did mention in conversation earlier is that the fact that they don't have either a climb speed or a burrowing speed, like just for a snail, kind of makes sense. So I would just give it to them. In fact, like snails have I would assume they would have a swim speed too. Like I'd give them a movement of
I would
either.
give them a climb of 5, and I wouldn't give them a burrow because they just eat through what's there. So they're not actually burrowing and getting into the earth. They're just eating what's around them. So if they want to travel down, they just eat through
But
it.
that's like the carrying, or what's the one that the ankeg? The ankeg, like that's how it burrows. It eats
like a
things
worm.
through, yeah. But I don't know. Like I would even a 10 move. I would just give it a 10 move. Like it's so slow that like why not just give it to it?
yeah, it doesn't need to be any.
So I would give it the barrow, climb, and swim because like it's 10 feet around or 20
I don't
feet
know
if
that
it
snails
hustles.
really
Yeah.
swim though. I think they might just move along the bottom.
Yeah, I guess that's true. They're not really. Yeah.
But yeah, so the only reason I had brought up, like, well, would they maybe need a burrow speed is because they're from the elemental plane of Earth, and most of those creatures have Earth glide.
Mhm.
But again, maybe they would always choose not to Earth glide because
They wouldn't eat it.
because they eat their way through.
Yeah.
So maybe that could be very well be why.
So how do you use the flail snail in your game? Have you had any cool stories? You want to share them? There's a great section for that in the comments down below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can find us over on nerdarchy.com.
Hang out with us for funny memes over on Facebook.
Also patronize us in a good way over on Patreon.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.